Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. We're actually going to be visiting the home base of Copiers Plus on Thursday. Very excited about this.
This is a great segue for us because when we all have a boss, when they say jump, I say how high. So yes, we will be there in Fayetteville Thursday to celebrate their Employee Appreciation Day.
Hey, it's funny you mentioned we all have a boss. We're going to talk to Andrew Jones of Tar Heel Illustrated a little bit later to get into the palace intrigue that unfolded in Chapel Hill all throughout the week and culminated post-game and throughout Sunday in Chapel Hill as it relates to Mack Brown's exit. Freddie Kitchens is your interim coach going forward. Here's my question, though, Joe, because college football always provides. This is why we're hooked on it. It always gives us material to talk about on any given day, more so than the NFL, which is, you were joking before we hit record, broadcasters talking about one-score games. And so that equates what, Joe?
The Panthers finally got like a B-team broadcasters.
Yeah.
I love Schlereth. Chris Myers, I think, was the straight guy in this one.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And he was talking about all the one-score games. God, there's nothing like the NFL.
No.
And I wanted to reach through the screen and throttle him, or at least just say to him, you understand there's a difference between a one-score game and an interesting game, right?
And that's the beauty of college football, in that uninteresting games on the surface can provide all sorts of things to talk about after the fact. And I'm sitting here talking about interim coaches. Here's my question. Will Chip Kelly be the interim coach for Ohio State in the college football playoff? Are we headed in this direction where a team makes the playoff, but they're so upset with their coach on the way to said playoff that to say, man, you cannot coach here anymore? And that might actually happen to Ryan Day after losing to Michigan for the fourth straight time. It's all about rivalries and how coaches handle rivalries and how that changes the dynamic of your season. We spent a good chunk of time talking about this related to NC State and North Carolina. We talked about this with Dave Dorn. If you missed that, it's not on the main podcast feed. That is a YouTube exclusive. So go check out the channel. We'll talk about State Carolina a little bit more here in a second. But my point is, these rivalry games matter in so many different ways, and how it sets the tone for your program and how you view a coach. And Ryan Day, man, like Chip Patterson on Cover 3 likes to say, they got the easy button at Ohio State, but they refused to press it when they played Michigan for some reason under Ryan Day. That man was on the radio show, his radio show, the week leading up to this game, talking about how important it is to beat Michigan and how tough they are. And he's equating it to like some of the worst things that have ever happened in his life, including the death of his father. When you talk like that, and then the scene after with the melee and the planting of the flag and him just standing there confused like a
literally
broken
saying,
man.
what happened?
Right. You got to go, dude. Like, you're a broken, not just because Ohio State fans are mad at you. It's almost like for your own sake, you might need to get away. So I know you joked about Ryan Day taking over North Carolina and just living that 9-win, 10-win life.
No, I didn't joke. I said,
I didn't take it seriously.
If you were North Carolina, I would call him for that reason.
Dude, I didn't take it seriously.
I would call him for that reason.
I didn't take it seriously when you said that. But when I watched that clip as I was catching up on things and I saw that man on the field with everything, it was almost like Kevin Bacon at the end of Animal House. Like, remain calm. Like, you couldn't even do that. He just sat there blank faced like, buddy, you need to get out of Columbus, man. That's bad. And I think you made this point too about how the shoe, you meant it for the Indiana game.
Yeah.
The shoe, it's like a basketball game for NC State. Like that fan base is not doing them any favors.
The existential dread in the building. And then the second one bad thing happens, one bad call becomes, okay, it's the ref's fault.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it's the coach's fault. Then all of a sudden, it's the weatherman's fault. Then all of a sudden
it's the clock operator.
The clock. You pick an excuse at that point. Here's Ohio State's real problem. And it bleeds a little bit into your theory about the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
When you're Ohio State and you have the talent that they have, you throw the ball around the yard, you win the game, you just go and score a bunch of points and win.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten themselves so wrapped up in one throwaway comment by Lou fucking Holtz from 2 years ago.
Right.
Where, they're soft when they played Notre Dame. they're soft and they're going to get pushed around because that's their identity. He has taken that one comment. No, I'll show you at my own expense. I'll show you. We're going to play your way. And even though that means Michigan can't complete a forward pass, we're going to play your way and try to beat you your way. You know, it also brings me into my point about Belichick.
Yeah.
Was Belichick an unbelievable coach? Obviously. But his number one strength was he knew how to win individual games.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it was your way. And sometimes it was just being like, you know what? You can't do this. I can.
Mm-hmm.
The skill level talent that they have. I'm watching that game. I'm watching Will Howard, who they paid $3 million for to come from Kansas State. And I'm sitting here going, and I said it last week when they played Indiana and the Wolf Blood, Caleb Downs bailed them out.
Mm-hmm.
He almost bailed them out in this game too with a late interception that should have turned into the game-winning points.
Sure.
I'm watching the game and I'm going, this is not the quarterback who you think he is. He's not. He's not the guy you want him to be. And I don't know where their recruiting went wrong because they were on a hot run there, man.
Sure.
The guys they were bringing in, they knew how to get some players at quarterback. Okay. This guy, he's not it. All right. And that's a problem, especially when you're looking at the numbers that Kyle McCord is putting up over at Syracuse and beating Miami, a top 5 team. When you're watching that and you're going, again, this gets back to the entire theme of this college football season. You have to understand positional value now.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you really paying for? What are you getting? You know, you can't duplicate at positions. And if you go out and get somebody, you better make damn sure it's Cam Ward. You better make damn sure.
Can Miami work on some defense, though? Maybe an upgrade in coaching? So all this is a wind up to where we're at right now. Ohio State is down bad, and yet they're going to be in the college football playoff. And as it stands, shout out to Kyle McCord for throwing some chaos into the ACC and saying at the end, because the Ohio State thing got brought up, and he was like, hey, man, everything comes full circle after a while. Good for you, Kyle McCord. Also, he tweeted out, you're welcome, Clemson. Yeah. Fran Brown also cracking me up.
In real time.
In real time. Man, Dabo. Orange schools looking out for orange schools, baby. That's where it's all out. So right now, the college football playoff heading into the conference championship weekend plays out like this. The Big Ten is going to get 4 schools in. You're going to have Oregon, which undefeated. And I mean, we've not spent any time talking about Oregon. They might win the whole damn thing.
I said a couple of weeks ago, Dan Lanning just might be that guy.
Yep. Penn State, Ohio State, and then Indiana. Based on how everything is shaken out, Indiana with 1 loss is going to get in. The SEC is looking like they've got 3 teams shoe in, and then we can get into the chaos factory that is all those 3 lost teams. But Texas, Georgia, and Tennessee, they're going to get in from the SEC. I think we understand that the Big 12 is going to get 1, the Arizona State, Iowa State winner. Notre Dame is going to get in.
Mm-hmm.
You got a group of 5 situation with the Boise State UNLV winner coming in. Although I know Dan Wetzel of Yahoo Sports is kind of pumping up Army as a potential spoiler in this situation, but no, you don't see that happening. And then, of course, we've got the ACC and Clemson. Miami losing to Syracuse. Clemson, we thought, could backdoor in as a team for the ACC by beating South Carolina, except that Clemson, for whatever reason, decided to, what do you call him, Cam Newton Light? They decided that, no, we're going to keep rushing this guy as though he can't just break you off. So that's exactly what happened. So Clemson not only are they going to backdoor their way into the college football playoff, they backdoored their way to the ACC championship game. So that leaves SMU, Clemson, and Miami versus the rest of those SEC squads for the 12th spot in the college football playoff.
I think it's really going to be either Alabama or Miami that gets the last spot. Alabama has a resume that is superior to South Carolina's. There's just no way around it.
Okay.
They beat them heads up. They also have the win over Georgia. Okay. Like there's just no way around that. There's not a committee on the planet. Just take the names out.
Yeah.
Do it David Hale blind resume style. No one is picking South Carolina's resume over Alabama's resume. No one. Not a single person on the planet. You can't. Now you add in that it's Bama. Yeah. Guess what? They would be the ones I think that would get in.
Does Alabama still get that benefit of the doubt without Nick Saban though? Because I always thought they get the Nick Saban bump.
Sure, they have both.
Okay,
they have both. They have the name Alabama, which again, this is a made for TV playoff. You got to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. I do see a scenario though where if Clemson wins, I do think Miami could get that last spot over Alabama.
Okay.
I do think that could happen.
Here's where the best case scenario for the ACC
depends on who's in that room. Like we still don't know. We still don't know who the driving personality in that room is.
The best case scenario for the ACC is that Clemson and SMU play a very, very close, competitive game. Not a one-score NFL game that's not really good. I'm talking about a competitive one-score game that goes Clemson's way. Okay? That goes Clemson's way. Clemson wins a tight one over SMU. They both get in. Clemson's going to get in as the conference champion. SMU gets in for having a decent resume, 2 losses. It's whatever. Miami gets left out. I'm not so sure that SMU beating Clemson opens the door for Miami to get in over one of those SEC squads.
No, I think Alabama gets in if SMU wins.
Yeah, because when you really take a look at Miami's resume, it ain't so hot, right? And I know there were some comparisons that I made earlier this year about what's really the difference between Miami and Texas. I know David Hale, as you mentioned, went blind resume on Texas and Miami earlier in the year. Miami actually had a better resume, and that's not saying much at all when it's all said and done. However, and they both got dynamic quarterbacks and great stories, and it's made for TV, as you mentioned. Texas is a TV product. Miami's a TV product. They got Cam Ward, all that other kind of stuff. But Miami also has some losses that don't look so hot. They just do not look so hot. That Syracuse loss does not look so hot in how it happened too, because Mario Cristobal apparently can't nurse a lead.
Here's the thing.
It's not that Syracuse is bad. It's like, dude, how many times is your defense? How many times is Cam Morgan have to bail you out?
Right, and you make a stupid decision on 4th down.
Right.
No, here's the thing that I saw Joel Klatt talking about this before the chaos of the weekend, and I think this is something that you and I. You've made this point before. People don't understand this bubble talk life, or bracket,
because they're only concerned with college football. They've never been in the trenches trying to debate Ken Palm and Bart Torvik numbers for a team that's one of the last 4 in.
There's been
you ain't about that life.
There's been a lot of talk about good losses.
Sure,
I don't buy. I still don't buy the good loss talk.
That's a college football construct.
It is, but I buy what are your wins.
Yeah, I get that.
Ultimately, I buy what are your wins. Miami doesn't have a bad loss. I'm laughing at some people who are like, Alabama has a terrible loss to Oklahoma. And I'm like, at night, down at Oklahoma, I don't give a fuck who the coach is at Oklahoma.
Wouldn't the Vanderbilt loss be the worst loss?
You play them at night. Didn't Vanderbilt just win again? Or they ended up losing to Tennessee. Vanderbilt's fine.
Okay, they're fine.
Whatever.
It's fine.
You know, to me, you look at it and you go, are we really going to give somebody credit for losing? Remember, that was the entirety of NC State's argument in basketball in 2019. But no. There was 3 number 1 seeds from the ACC.
Yeah.
We lost all of them.
Yeah.
Cool. You lost. That's the key word. You lost.
Yeah.
You didn't win. And that's where I'm looking at this committee going, who's driving the bus here on the committee? Who's the driving personality? And how are they going to shape their arguments? How transparent will they be in how they see teams? I do think strength of record is something traditionally that they've used, and it is a metric that they rely on. I just don't buy the good loss argument. Ultimately, you earn, as Mark Gottfried loves to say, every team in the tournament earns their way into the tournament. The ultimate way to earn your way in is by winning, not by good losses.
One other point that I would make related to college basketball, and again, you and I and a lot of our listeners understand this because we spent a good chunk of time from January all the way through conference tournament time obsessing over resumes and good wins and wins against the field, as you like to bring up, and everything else. So we're about that life, and I don't know if college football folks are ready to transition to that or letting go of the old tropes that would usually work for a BCS or for a 4-team college playoff, okay? And that, much like the NCAA tournament, it's a random chaos generator. The bigger the bracket, the more variance you're going to get, and you're going to get some upsets. Because, again, the normal college football talking point, the trope is, well, if you put these 2 teams on the field, we know who's going to win. You don't.
No, you really don't.
And then when you combine that with the NIL era and the portal era, and guys going all over the place, and you're 1 quarterback away from turning your season around, or 1 poor decision from you dropping down into that chunky mass of teams. Well, look at SMU. All right. You and I know Luke DeCock of the News and Observer also, we were joking, but we were also serious that watch SMU in this day and age to basically take Miami light with Rhett Lashley and be really competitive in the ACC. Hell, watch them show up in the ACC championship game. Not only are they in the ACC championship game, but Rhett Lashley is likely going to be your ACC Coach of the Year in year one. A group of 5 team came in and is going to win your league, and the coach is going to win the ACC Coach of the Year. But let's expand that out. Who had the best season in the Big Ten, Joe?
The regular season champion in the Big Ten was Oregon, who came over from the Pac-12. This is their first year in the league they had been in the Pac-12.
The weak Pac-12 with a television deal that sucked and money. I mean, I get Oregon has money, but they came in and first year,
run the table.
I mean, just excellent year.
Yeah.
Let's go to the SEC. Who had the best year?
Another team in their first year in the league. This one from the Big 12 in Texas.
This is a Texas team that couldn't get out of its own way in the Big 12. I mean, where's my eye?
Mostly. They did make the playoff last year.
I get that, but like, where's Brett Yormark making jokes about, oh, you're really going to miss out on losing to Iowa State, right? Okay, so all right, so you got to get this Big 12 team that came in. Oh, man, how are they going to compete in the mighty SEC? Well, they just did, all right? And then, obviously, we just mentioned the ACC. And
the Big 12 right now is being run by Arizona State, also a former Pac-12 team.
So, if that's how the regular season played out, how do we expect the college football playoff to play out? We're going to see some wild things, man. Some absolutely wild things. And it's really going to mess with people's brains of how we normally talk about stuff. And the biggest loser in all of this are the SEC tastemakers, the SEC talking point people, the people who tell you it just means more. All you got to do is look at how the year played out and look at how normal a lot of these SEC teams looked. Look, man, Georgia Tech took Georgia to the freaking brink, okay? The brink.
Yeah, without some friendly flags, they win the football game.
Friendly, I mean, come on, you got to call it targeting in that situation. Anyway, the point is that what you think you know about college football has always been held together by gatekeeping. I've been screaming this for a decade. College football has always been built on the hypothetical, the Vegas line, the stupid arguments, my conference could beat your conference. Well, now with all this juggling of stuff, well, here we are.
Well, the curve has been flattened. In college basketball, we saw this when we have a Final Four with San Diego State.
Yeah.
And, there's 4 teams in there that you couldn't name if you wanted to. So that's because of the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's more. It's easier in college basketball because there's fewer spots. Well, look at what Indiana has done with their disruption this year, bringing 23 new players in.
Yeah.
Look at some of those transfer quarterbacks. You mentioned Georgia Tech. Where's their quarterback from? He was a guy from the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Oregon. Where's their quarterback from? Oh, he was at Central Florida, right? So you've completely flattened the curve. Then you take away all of those Hall of Fame coaches. You start taking away some of those built-in advantages. And even a team like Georgia is sitting there. Yes, they still have an NFL defense, but their skill players on offense are very, very ordinary. So anything can happen. And I'm 49 years old. I'm going to be 50 years old. This is the first time, and I followed college football since I was born.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first year, and I said it a month ago. This is the first year on December 2nd. I can't sit here and tell you who the best team in the country is.
No.
I can't.
No.
I mean, you can sit here and make the argument for Oregon. Sure enough.
I don't know.
But I don't know.
I really don't know.
How many times in your lifetime have you known, even if that team doesn't win the national championship, they're going to be in the title game, and it's either someone beats them or they run it.
Yeah.
This is the first time in my lifetime I cannot sit here and tell you with any certainty Team X is the best team in the country.
And it's made for a better product. It's made for a much better product.
Yeah. It's a perfect year for it with the expanded field.
Now, speaking of you being 50 years old, you called yourself out on this on Saturday when we were talking about NC State and North Carolina and the whole planting the flag business, right?
Still don't like it.
I know you don't like it. It's fine. It's whatever. You can feel the way that you want to feel. But again, these are things where I'm catching up on stuff. And I didn't realize to capture my inner Zoolander, planting the flag. So hot. Planting the flag. Yes. So hot right now.
Yes.
So hot right now. Everybody wanted to plant the flag except for Steve Sarkisian of Texas, who knew, man, those dudes have been waiting 13 freaking years to have us at home. We are not we're walking off the field. We ain't doing this. But we had the North Carolina NC State. We had Florida State, which led to some shenanigans. Obviously, we mentioned Ohio State and Michigan. There was like another one that ended up taking place. I forget which one it was, but this was a thing on Saturday. And you were getting roasted in the comments section on Instagram and on YouTube and everything
Fair
else.
enough, man. The youths, they're all about it.
We ended up having, hold on a second. We even had some sports phone calls about this kind of stuff.
919 Mobile phone 2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
I think this came to us from a 919 number.
Hey guys, yeah, this is Robert in Raleigh, and this comment is directed specifically at Jilly Joe. Whatever we got to do, or whatever we got to sub to make sure that you never use the phrase vigorously pleasuring themselves ever again, yeah, sign me up. Also, go Pack, plant the flag.
I already forgot the context.
You know the context that way. And then there was this one.
Sorry for calling back, Bradley from Lewington. This is a response about the flag. I'm on Joe's side about the flag. I don't like planting them, but I am for fighting. All right. Let the boys settle their differences. At the end of rivalry week, you should get one scrap just because otherwise it's not a rivalry. But the flag stuff, yes. But soothing the older point, I think these young boys, they are undisciplined and can't be criticized. And the reason we're seeing ball players not quite be as talented is I don't think they're coachable. And that comes from experience. I've been a fireman for 18 years, and you just can't train these guys that are young. Like, I do it every day. Like, these young guys don't have, I don't know what it is, but the fighting, like you've seen it more and more. I think it's the just undisciplined nature of these young kids that's just all they know. And I'm with them on not planting the flag, but I don't mind the fighting. I don't know, that's kind of a weird stance to take, but I think of it as what Saban said. These kids are undisciplined. It's all about them. They want to take advantage of something and get a picture knocking somebody out on Instagram. Anyway, I think that's just what it is, and I think that's the world we're going to have to live in now, unless something changes rapidly, which I doubt you're going to tell a kid that's 18 years old at 6'3", 250 pounds, anything, unless you really can whoop them. That's just where the world seems like it's going. Anyway, thank you guys.
I agree. I agree with our guy out in Lillington. Sometimes you do got to fight, right? And this comes from somebody who's not been in one fight in his life, but sometimes you do have to fight. I understand that. I'm just going to say this. I don't like it when we want to do kids today. Okay. Fighting in sports has been going on for a long time. We go to freaking hockey games and we watch grown ass men fight. In fact, we get mad about the fact that there's not as much fighting as there used to be in hockey because, well, reasons, right? Here's what I think people are missing. And I'm just going to double back on something that I said on Saturday. I don't mind the planting of the flag because this is exactly what we want. We go all year talking about rivalries. We go all year talking about how important this is. In the case of Ryan Day, he's talking about how important it is to beat Michigan, and we're going to be tough. We're going to show you how you're tough. And then all of a sudden, you're not so tough, right? So you have social media. It's not the kids that want the social media. It's the schools that want the social media. It's not the kids who want to be on TV. It's the television networks that want the B-roll to show you, to get you hyped up for the next time these two teams play. And if you don't believe me, let's go back to all the instances locally in which when we get started getting hyped up for a rivalry game, what do we start to do with the B-roll? We revisit a fight between NC State and Carolina, however many years ago it was. Who was it, the assistant coach who took out a guy?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, right?
Donnie Thompson.
Right. So you got that.
Ted Kane.
How many freaking times are we going to see bloody Montross or bloody Hansbrough, right? In the moment, it's like, this is ridiculous. I can't be the decorum. Yet what do we see before every Duke and Carolina game? We see Hansborough's freaking bloody ass nose on my television every single time because that's what we want. And then we get mad that after everybody's all up in a lather about stuff, that when the game ends, suddenly we're like, hey, guys, that's a little too much now. No, that's what you want. That's what the TV wants. That's what the social media from the schools want. Here's where I would tell you to get mad. Here's where I would understand if you wanted to be upset. In the case of Ryan Day, you can't go freaking 364 days out of the year talking about how tough you are and then stand there like, well, I can't believe what happened. Or in the case of Dave Doran, I'd be upset in that, because you and I talked about this after the show on Saturday. The reason why State's successful against North Carolina is because Dave has those guys in a mindset to be assholes to Carolina. Mm-hmm. And then it bleeds over into the waving the flag or calling them pieces of shit. That is a mindset that is an advantage to NC State in this rivalry that for some reason North Carolina cannot match. And it goes beyond Mack Brown. However, You know me. I'm all about consistency and energy. So when you're an asshole in these situations, and I laud it, or you want to be salty, Dave, and call out freaking Steve Smith for basketball school comments, all right, cool. But when you see an orange team and all of a sudden you don't know what to do with yourself, whether it's Tennessee, Syracuse, or Clemson, and then what's your go-to? Well, I need people to stand on third down. What? Huh? We're hard, tough, and physical. Yeah, but the clock operator, got to do something about. That's what I would be mad about. Not the fighting, not the flag waving or acting like you've been there before. It's more like, hey, man, if that's your attitude in this situation, bring it all freaking year, man. And not just be selective in when you want to be an asshole and then want understanding when it doesn't go your way. It's all about consistency and energy, man. That's all I ask.
Housekeeping.
It's brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green cleaning solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it green clean with Enovana.
May I remind you that a clean house would be a wonderful Christmas gift. So go buy a one-time cleaning. Go to enovana.com. You know what else is awesome? The gift of OG fans. Go to OG300media.com. You can actually gift a subscription to loved ones in your life. Imagine Christmas morning going to the stocking and pulling out a little index card that says, hey, I got you a subscription to OG fans. That'd be amazing. Be amazing. No? Try it. See what happens. Report back. Also, we've got the OG Tailgate. It's back December 15th. We will be at the Carolina Hurricanes game on Sunday afternoon. It'll be a good time. And hopefully the Canes, they're not playing the Florida Panthers, right?
No.
Okay, good. As long as they're not playing the Panthers, I like their chances. Since Paul Maurice and the boys seem to have...
We get Columbus. It's the Don Waddell return. 5 o'clock.
Okay.
OG Tailgate. That is to say, we will be in the parking lot. We will have things. If you want to come out and see us, please do.
Yep. It'll be a lot of fun. Speaking of hockey and coming out of the Thanksgiving break, may I remind you, it is time to detox. It's time to hit Happy and Hail.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hail.
I will actually be headed to Happy and Hail when we're done with the recording of this podcast so I can go and get some roughage. Because, buddy, let me tell you, I went hard in the paint on Thanksgiving. I mean, not only did I have the full meal, but I had leftover pizza later that night, then chased that with another helping of chocolate chess pie. So yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So I need that roughage. Maybe you do too. Go to Happy and Hail, download the app. It makes it incredibly easy for you to get in and out and go about your day. Rocking the home field today. As you can see, this is my Rob Lowe. I'm not rooting for anybody home field special here. This is an incredibly comfortable crew neck fleece line. It's fantastic. You can get that right now at homefieldapparel.com. Use that promo code OG24, but maybe, just maybe, go to the website. Sometimes they extend those sales, so be on the lookout for that. So maybe use that OG promo code OG24 for something for yourself, and then take advantage of the big sales for somebody in your life. Again, that's homefieldapparel.com. Big thanks to our friends at State Farm, Matt Davis. You want to save money. Trust me.
Who doesn't?
It's that time of the year where you realize, man, I really need to cut back on some things. Well, cut back on the amount of money that you're spending on insurance. So go to insuregarner.com, theoginsurance.com, or call Matt Davis directly at 919-779-8277. And Joe, you did not have any fights with the family?
No, not that I know of.
You don't need Whitaker and Hamer to represent you for some sort of dispute?
No, I think I made it through unscathed. No parking tickets, no driving issues, knock on wood.
I made it through Virginia without a single driving ticket.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah. No, they check by radar.
Yeah.
Via plane, even though I've never seen one. Unless it's a stealth bomber that I'm not aware of that's checking your speeding, checking your your miles per hour. Anyway, maybe that was the case. Maybe you got popped during all this travel. Maybe you will when you're traveling home to go for Christmas or whatever it is. Contact our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from Tar Heel Illustrated, longtime local reporter, Andrew Jones. He's been around Carolina for a very, very long time. Very plugged in. Andrew, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? You saying I'm old?
I was going to say,
Yeah.
it sounded like a compliment, but it was like,
We're all old.
you threw that extra very in there.
By the way, so if I address one of you as Joe, do I have to be really specific about which Joe?
We'll figure it
I
out.
heard I'm going to call someone said I agree with Joe. I'm like, which freaking Joe do you agree with?
We'll figure it out. We'll sort it out in the end.
All the Joes.
No, I say I have that lead up because for you and at UNC, because sometimes, Joe and I, we have a pretty good sense of where things are going in the triangle. We have a pretty good idea of how these things work out, but we don't know all the palace intrigue that takes place sometimes at certain places. And I feel like this week in Chapel Hill, the palace intrigue really came to a head with Mack Brown, Bubba Cunningham, and who feels certain ways about things behind the scenes, right? So I'm curious, what was your overall interpretation of really the last 2 weeks of how Mack Brown was framing things in Chapel Hill and his future versus how he framed things after the game on Saturday without taking any questions?
I think that Bubba Cunningham had been jogging in this direction for 12 months since the collapse last year. And I think what JMU did was it put him into a sprint. But what he needed, and since you guys have been around a long time, I'll give you a correlation here in just a second. He needed JMU to happen. And then a little bit of goodwill. Everybody kind of backed off with Tallycraft, and they started winning and started looking good. They went the retros on and beat up some really bad teams, which kind of tease people into what this team might be becoming. And Mack was swearing all along they were going to close strong, and they were starting to close strong. And then Boston College happened. And as I don't have an emotional take on things, just like you guys don't. And I'm sitting up there in the press box in Chestnut Hill, and I've never been on the side that he should stay or he should go. I haven't been on that side ever. I've been right down the middle, just reporting stuff and just sort of counting the beans as I go along, so to speak. And I'm watching that, and I realized that it had to go. It had to end, because that was the worst performance of Mack Part 2. It was, if you want to use the word deplorable, it was deplorable. It was as ugly as it gets for a team that was significantly more talented. But I'll tell you what, when I parked and I was walking to the stadium, there's not a very long walk. You got to walk past the Flutie statue and all that. And it's like 41 degrees and the rain is coming sideways a little bit. And I knew that there was no chance in hell that team was going to be ready to play, because those are not the conditions they wanted to be in, not in that ugly stadium with nobody there. And that's exactly what happened. And I think that that's why this decision was made, because that wasn't the first time. It was rain and cold weather this time. It was something else. It was the heat against JMU. It was something else against somebody else. And too often this has occurred. And then when you add the second layer, the kind of communication behind the scenes that have been going on for more than 12 months really kind of led everybody to this point. So people on the outside are just going to see on the surface, why did he fire him on a Monday? Well, they have to understand all the things that led up to those Monday conversations that kind of put Bubba in a situation where he had no choice. So we had the week that we had. Mack had his strangest press conference I've ever been involved in, and he walked away, and now Carolina's going to find a replacement who will actually come in replacing a quote-unquote legend much easier. It'd be a much easier job than usually when guys replace legends, because there are a lot of pieces that need to be cleaned up.
Real quick, though, I want to go back to the Monday press conference, because Bubba had to call from Hawaii, man. Like that's like I'm chilling. I got my pina coladas. I'm watching basketball, and you're putting me in a position where I got to fire you. And I think Mack, this is just my interpretation over the last couple of weeks and how Mack framed things, or at least how his people, his camp wanted to frame things. I am convinced more than ever that Mack was waiting on the result of the NC State game to decide what he wanted to do. And that had they beaten NC State, Mack absolutely would have had the narrative and the talking points ready to go to come back for 2025. But had they lost, then he was ready to have the conversation. And that's why Bubba was like, no, to your point, this decision was made, and I don't want to chance it that you beat NC State, because then it's going to get really awkward. So Bubba's doing his best chance after that Monday press conference where Mack emphatically said, yes, I plan on being back in 2025. But Bubba was like, no, we ain't going to make this work. And that's what I thought was curious about Saturday, where we talked about, oh, we could have had a joint press conference.
Yeah.
I would have done what the university wanted me to do. Well, it seems to me, based on the reporting, you weren't going to do what the university wanted you to do. Is that a correct interpretation?
That's 100%. The university gave him multiple opportunities to go out in a different way, and he chose not to. And you're right. I've been told by very good sources that he still thought he had a chance to win his way into another year. And so when he says that he and Sally have been thinking about it, that kind of struck me, because there's not one person I've talked to that has said that Mack had ever had a conversation about not coming back. It was always about coming back. So he never went on the other side of that aisle there. As far as Monday goes, one of the reasons I asked him more specifically in the press conference about specific conversations with players was because, to me, that would validate whether or not there was any kind of conversation, any kind of discussion, whether that was any kind of narrative floating through the football building. Because as much as these kids are on social media, they're also very insulated during football season. And he said he hadn't talked to one player on the roster about his future. And I think that was part of what sort of triggered the phone call. Now, remember, Bubba was in Chestnut Hill. The next day he flew to Hawaii. So he was one day into Hawaii, and he saw Chestnut Hill in person. And he was not in the post-game press conference. Usually he'll come down the post-game press conference, some boosters. There was nobody there. Always there's one booster who's in every press conference and cheers when Mack walks in the room. When there were three of us that traveled. We walked into, Joe, the press conferences there for football, the same as basketball. And so we walk in the room, and Mack's just sitting there, and he's got his hand like this, and he's taking some notes on the stat sheet waiting for us, because we're the only three. And some guy from Boston, probably local radio or something.
Yeah.
That's it. So he's sitting there waiting for us, and then he does a press conference. It's like 9 minutes, and that's that. So it was very evident that if they needed a Boston College to give them a little bit more validation, he gave them Boston College, and it was time.
Well, I got a couple thoughts here. Number one would be, I applauded ECU for moving on from, like you said, like who's going to be the one adult this year in the state who moves on from their coach, right? Someone decided this standard's not enough. We're gonna take a stand. I give Carolina credit for, how many times NC State's lost to Boston College and their coach never gets fucking fired. Like, I love that Bubba was like, no, this is not it. It's Boston College. This is a bridge too far. Okay. So first of all, I love that. Second of all, I never thought I'd be able to use this. And I don't know. Are you at any point in your life where you were a wrestling fan, Andrew? Professional wrestling?
No, but I know people who are, so I know a lot of the sayings. And
Are you familiar with the Montreal screw job and Bret Hart and Vince McMahon?
Yes.
That's what we had here. We had the champion, Mack, saying, I'll drop the belt. I'll drop the belt. I promise. Just don't make me lose in Montreal. And you got Vince McMahon going, no, man, you don't get it. I'm the boss.
I'm the boss.
I call the shots, not you.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what we have here. Yeah. Right down to, John Pryor coming out in an unprecedented move. Has he ever given comments publicly to anyone before?
I've never talked to him before in any official.
Real quick context. John Pryor is the UNC Board of Trustees chairman,
who magically had a lot to say on Saturday.
But was he not the same guy who came after Bubba earlier in the year?
Yeah, my understanding too. I left the. I went back up and he was still down there. And my understanding is he walked some of it back because he didn't have all the information. So we're in sort of. That's my understanding. I wasn't there for it, but we're in a very reactionary phase right now. And by the way, Joe, the irony about that is the one Boston College team that State beat, they ended up hiring that Boston College coach.
Yeah,
back when.
You're right. You are.
He took the job because he loved the crowd. Daniel Evans beat him, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. It was the Daniel Evans game.
Yep, exactly.
I remember that game pretty clearly. I think that's a good analogy because Mack was in a position of power all along. Because he's Mack Brown, because he came back to save the program. And he did a lot of really good things for this program. And I think what's unfortunate is the way this exit has happened is it's taking away from that, because I don't think that was a great look for him Saturday night with the press conference. He never mentioned the seniors. He talked about the game for 45 seconds. Most of it was about the unfortunate stuff at the end. And then he made it about himself and didn't take questions. And I think one of the reasons he didn't take questions is because he knew that there were some people sitting there in the front row that we're going to ask questions to kind of challenge a little bit of the contradiction in his final words. And he just wanted to drop the mic and walk off. That's fine. He's earned that right. We still know what the deal is. And it puts people like IC and us and the NNO in position to report a lot of the things that actually occurred. And it will surprise some people because they think that Mack walks on water. And then there are other people that think Mack can't swim at all. He drowns in 2 inches of water. And the truth is somewhere in between based on these last 6 years. And certainly this year, it was a tough year for Mack. I think he handled the Ty Lee stuff exceptionally well. Mm-hmm. I think that he did an amazing job of not losing the team. The Boston College game, the JMU game, a week later, they're up 20-0 at Duke. He did not lose the team. A week later, they're in position to beat Pitt in the fourth quarter. A week later, they tied Georgia Tech with a minute left. So he never really lost the team, except BC looked like there was no connection. So if it's like when Joe, remember when Chuck Amato, both Joes, I should say Joe and Joe, when Chuck Amato was fired, the beginning of the end really for him were the Akron comments, the partial qualifier comments. All he needed to do was give the NC State brass a losing streak. And he did. And then he got clobbered against ECU, and he was packing his yellow Corvette the next morning. Mm-hmm. Mack kind of supplied Carolina the same thing. To me, Boston College was the final straw where Bubba knew, I can't give him a chance to blow out NC State and change the narrative. We got to make this happen now. He tried to give him a chance to go out gracefully. Mack totally disagreed, and he forced Bubba's hand on a second or third phone call, I've been told, basically said, you're going to have to fire me, and Bubba said, you're fired.
Going back to what you said, Andrew, about a 12-month jog up and a run up. I'm still flabbergasted by the game in Raleigh last year. You've covered about as many of these as I have. That's the only time I've seen Carolina get blown out. I've seen State get blown out. I have never seen a team not show up for the football game, which is what happened last year. So in that 12-month run up, I mean, there's two things that stand out in my mind. I'm curious, your game in Raleigh where Mack fully publicly circles the wagons and says, I talked to the 6 donors. I talked to them about how we're going to fix this and how we'll go about this going forward. I thought that was a power play by Mack last year in the bowl run up. What was your take on that specific public, peacocking, if you will, by Mack?
I agree with you. And I think that's one of Mack's strengths is the power play. I think Mack has expertly used the power play to his advantage for years, and I don't blame him for it. I would too. Roy Williams did the same thing. Coach K did the same thing for years. When you attain a degree of respect and power, if you will, you're going to use it to your advantage whenever those opportunities present themselves. And I think the opportunity in which it did so the most was after that game. Because I agree with you. That was a complete no-show. The other times Carolina's found, I did in our podcast after the game the other day, I said, look, they find ways to lose to NC State. They've been doing it for years. Mm-hmm. The last time they beat NC State in Chapel Hill in front of fans was the Gio Bernard punt return. Because the one win was the COVID year. Yep. Yeah. So Carolina fans have not left Kenan Stadium feeling good about the NC State game in 12 years. And that was a Tom O'Brien mistake. He punched the ball away. That never happens. And then we're going back to Russell Wilson, Hail Mary, and God knows when Carolina would have beaten them in Chapel Hill.
I just saw 2 teams celebrating, Andrew. Yeah. I just saw 2 teams celebrating.
The other
and I asked him, I said, well, what were you celebrating? He stopped. He goes, we weren't celebrating. Well, what the hell did you just say?
I remember I was in that freaking press conference, and
you were sitting next to me. I think you were sitting next to me on that.
I was actually.
Also, I agree with you, Joe. Joe Giglio, the other Joe, that for a lot of people, that was sort of the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, they needed JMU to happen, and then Boston College was a giant exclamation mark on everything.
The other part of that 12-month run-up would have been signing day when he goes back and he revisits the comments from Dave Doran. Ovies pointed this out in real time, like, you have the master communicator fumbling in a press conference on his Super Bowl. In real time, what was your reaction to, like, wait a second, why are we not talking about, whatever hot shit recruits coming in from Tarboro instead we're revisiting these comments from
2 months
the
ago.
Game.
I was forced to revisit that last Monday because he was asked about, I think Chip Alexander asked him about Doran's comments a year later. And Max said, "Oh, we've talked and everything's fine, basically." And I'm thinking, wait a second. There was a time when he said something. I went back into the press conference last year, Sunday press conference, and that's basically how he opened it.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of threw mud on a day that should have been a pretty good day. They had a huge signing class. It was a good class, a lot of kids. So he probably should have responded sooner than that. But if Mac does it in front of a camera, he has full control of how it comes out. If he puts a release out there or tells someone off the record, he doesn't have as much control. So that's part of being the master communicator. That's part of someone who has always been in control of the message. He's always been in control of the message since the day that he stepped foot in campus in Chapel Hill back in 1988. He's always been in control, and I think that was him doing that, but the timing was bad. The timing was really bad. He should have come right out and said something right away. Should have called you guys and gone on the air and said, that's BS.
No, not us, but anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
One nugget I took from
you guys would have handled it well.
we're the truth filters for everybody. Whoever wants to use the truth filter.
We would have, but there are people around Mac who don't believe that. So
yeah. So no, but now one thing I did take from Mac's post.
I get that. Trust me. I understand because we've all been in the same boat, guys.
Right. Exactly.
One thing I did take from Mac's post game that I thought was interesting was the talking about the NIL budget and the money that Carolina has. We all know Carolina's got money. Now, where do they go next here? My theory is Bubba only fires him publicly and made this thing messy because he has some sort of plan. Do you think it's I got a list of 5 in my desk, cliche, or do you think he thinks he can swing for the fences here and make a home run hire?
They're going for fit. So if the fit comes off as a home run hire, they're not worried about that. If the fit comes off as what are they doing? They're not really worried about that because they believe they have to make the right hire. Now, what's interesting is that they have had financial question marks with respect to how much they pay for football, how much money they give football for a while. But that's gone way up. I was fortunate enough to get a hold of all the financials here a few weeks ago, and they more than doubled what Mac and his program got than what Larry got. And there were some pretty heavy expenditures under Mac that you kind of scratch your head about because, again, they were appeasing Mac. Mac wants certain things. He wants to project a certain image. They're going to go for it. And in a lot of ways it worked because he had a lot of success, and they were much better in a consistent manner than they had been since Mac left the first time. The only time they were ever decent before was when Butch was there, and he cheated his ass off. So at least this way they were having a modicum of success without cheating. So the thing now is that they have
whoa. You can't make Butch comments to Miami Joe.
Whoa.
That's right.
You got to be careful.
In defense of Butch Davis, what was cheating then is legalized now.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. That's the thing.
Okay.
Somebody actually, total sidebar here for a minute. Someone said the other night, texted me during Carolina's beatdown against Auburn in basketball, Carolina should hire Bruce Pearl. And so I texted a friend of mine that just to kind of have fun with it, a guy who's a big Carolina fan. He's like, Bruce Pearl's a cheater. I said, no, he's not.
No, he's not.
It never happened.
Nope.
No, it never happened. And it's history. He's okay now. That's all legal. Said the same thing about Will Wade and McNeese State. So anyhow,
yeah, that's Joe's boy. That's Joe's boy right there.
He should be everybody's boy now because he knows how to play the game. He's an expert at it.
And so before we say goodbye,
we'll let him finish on fit.
Let me finish on the
But the fit actually ties in where I was going to kind of lead you to. Bubba wants fit. Is Bubba going to get what he wants?
Bubba they have had an unbelievable response to the job opening.
Okay.
They've had head coaches in the SEC and Big Ten reach out. And one of the reasons why this job I think is a lot more appealing right now than we thought 4 months ago is because Carolina's done a really good job in the last 6 to 12 months of getting its financial house in order. One of the problems was there were 9 different collectives and people didn't know where to donate. So they got the collective under one umbrella. They've also got a new excellence fund that they've started where money is going to it. The Rams Club is completely prepared to pay for all the scholarships, even with the expanded number of scholarships coming. They've got their NIL money in order. In fact, there's a lot more NIL money. They're going to be able to handle revenue sharing, all the things that they need to be able to do to spend on personnel be it coaching staff or players, is far more in better shape now than it's ever been in. And on top of that, the new coach that comes in isn't going to have to ask for a renovation of the building. It's not going to have to ask for a locker room. It's not going to have to ask for a lot of those things. So the money that he asks for, the excitement he generates, that money's going to go straight to personnel. So they're in a lot better shape moving forward financially than they've ever been under Mack, because Mack's first 3 years, he had his hand out so they can get a new locker room, so they can get a basketball court in the Keenan football center, so they can get this and get that. And they were working toward building a new locker room and a new weight room. And I think they kind of pumped the brakes on that because, like, look, weight room ain't going to attract recruits. This is going to attract recruits, and this is what they have to spend their money on. So I think they have a better plan now moving forward about how to allocate money and the amount of money that they have for football than they've ever had before. So I think it increases the pool of the fit, personally. Okay. The guy doesn't have to come in and sell the 40-year decision so much. He can come in and say, come here, win football, play football, win games, get on national TV, and go to the NFL.
Because I respect you, I'm going to say this. I'm rooting for you. Even though I'm rooting for us, I'm rooting for you. And I've already made a text. My well-placed sources, it's been put in. I really do hope they hire Drink. I hope he comes in. I do. You're talking Eli Drinkwitz. And I think he would be great for you because you've done a great job these last 6 years with Mack. A lot of people don't want to press Mack, and you're always the first voice in there pressing him. I appreciate all the work that you've done these last few years. It's not easy. I know I've been over there. Yeah. When you are not the favorite son over there, it's not easy.
Yeah, many of the exchanges
you've done a really good job.
Many of the exchanges we play with Mack end up being your questions. So we appreciate that.
I will, in all fairness, Mack gets a lot of that credit because Mack's easy to cover.
Yeah.
In the sense that he if he takes a question personally, usually you find out maybe later. And it doesn't come right back at you. Although I have no problem with a coach coming at a reporter if they ask a stupid question or if they disagree with the premise of it. If we can criticize them, they can criticize us. I'm cool with that. I've certainly been there before. I think both of you were in the room when Roy went after me about 10 years ago.
The press, yeah.
Exactly. It happens. You deal with it. You live and learn, you move on. But I will say that Mack made it easier. And I always thought that he was going to give me at least a semblance of an honest answer. And that's a lot more than most coaches because a lot of them just give you such BS that you walk away saying, well, that was a waste of 25 minutes. What am I going to use from that? And we usually had something we can use when we walked away from Mack. More than one thing, a couple of things usually. And I appreciate the words, Joe.
We're all trying to run businesses. So Tar Heel Illustrated, because I caught it on the podcast or on the YouTube. I watched it on YouTube. You guys are running a sale right now at Tar Heel Illustrated, right?
Yeah, we are. It ends today. It ends later today. It's 75% off, $2.08 a month for a 1-year subscription. That's ridiculous.
Movie theater popcorn, that thing, baby.
Like a smart businessman. He's like, yeah, I'm giving you that stuff for free on YouTube, but the real deal's on the website, on the message.
It's unbelievable some of the stuff we have. I just gave you guys a few of my talking points from last night, so I gave you guys a solid
little something. Andrew, we appreciate the time as always, man. We'll talk to you later.
Always good to talk to you guys. Thanks.
I enjoyed our deep dive into the post Mack Brown era there with Andrew Jones of Tar Heel Illustrated. But there are some residuals from the NC State side of things as well. NC State's going bowling. Dave Dorn now 4 in a row, but there's going to be some changes. Not as dramatic, obviously, as what happens in North Carolina, but we had kind of expected there to be some changes for NC State. We know that Casey Concepcion, after an offseason of hype and making sure he stayed and securing the bag, looks like he's going to secure the bag somewhere else. He has entered the portal. This does not surprise anybody who's been listening to this podcast, right?
Should not. I laughed at the breaking tag. The writing's been on the wall here for Kevin Concepcion to be leaving NC State, and that's fine. Like, he had an unbelievable freshman season where he was the sole provider of offense for them. I mean, there's just no way around his importance to the team in 2023. They ended up paying him this year, probably in the $350 to $5, somewhere in that range. He was the highest paid player on the team. Totally deserved it. Yeah. Totally all those things. The problem this year was they added Noah Rogers. They added Justin Jolie. They added Wesley Grimes. They also added a guy named Jonathan Paylor. at a high school who they had to significantly dip into their collective for. Well, you can't pay a bunch of guys who all play the same position. You can't do that. You can't duplicate where you were investing in, particularly when you have a limited budget.
Yeah.
Right. So a couple of things happened with Kevin Concepcion this year. First of all, you're not the sole focus of the offense anymore. I'm not sure that conversation was had with him, because the way that he reacted essentially since the Western Carolina game was kind of like, he had 3 touchdowns against Western Carolina and 3 touchdowns the rest of the year. Western Carolina, a 1 AA team.
Right.
Okay. So, I think he reacted poorly with his attitude of not being the sole focus of the offense. I'm guaranteed he was banged up for a lot of the year.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
He did not look healthy to me for long stretches of this season.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't think he was 100%.
That. But, I've said the same thing about DJ Burns last year. You do not know how someone is going to react to getting money until they get money.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of it. And I thought he had a very difficult year this year. I thought he was a part of their problems this year. That doesn't mean you say anything bad or whatever. It's not ill will or whatever. It's just a reality that he was a part of the problem this year. He can go and make more money elsewhere. That's awesome. He should go and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And when his brother decommitted and ended up at Kansas State, yeah, that was the canary in the coal mine that KC was going to move on as well.
The other curiosity that I have for NC State and Dave Doran, and this is something that we talked about throughout the year. This year, while it ends on a high note, beating Carolina, and I know that Dave Doran talked about it's great that we went to a bowl or whatever, but obviously this is the thing that matters when people, whatever happens, beat Carolina. I get all that stuff.
I don't, because that was not what he was told when he was hired, but sure.
Let him spin it. Like let him spin it. Let him spin it however he wants to spin it. Okay. That does not concern me, but I think we can all agree that this season, even though it ended with a win over Carolina, did not go the way that they anticipated, the way that they had positioned themselves, why they spent the money they spent on KC to make sure he's here, right? Why they went and got Grayson McCall in the portal. They were positioning themselves to make a move this year. Well, they fell flat on their face. I don't think I'm saying anything that is unfair to NC State's season. And when you have that happen, you do wonder, all right, what sorts of changes will take place on the coaching staff? And look, I've made no secret that I've been completely unimpressed in the 2 years of Robert and I, and what they have on the field versus what they're trying to run. Or is it a Dave Doran thing and it doesn't really matter who the offensive coordinator is? So maybe you run it back with Robert and I because he understands the assignment. I don't know. But I'll be really curious to see what happens with Anai, what happens with the offensive line, and Tony Gibson, who has done, say what you want, has done a very good job this year, missing some key pieces that have usually made that defense go.
It's my understanding NC State will have one new coordinator next year, but it will not be the offensive coordinator. It looks like a couple things. A deal has been done with CJ Bailey. He will be back next year. It looks like Robert and I not going anywhere.
Okay.
He is on track to be back next year. Tony Gibson looks like someone who potentially could get the Charlotte job as head coach there. Marshall is a job he's long had his eye on if that job were to come open. It could just be time for him to say, you know what, I've done a lot at NC State and I'm ready for my next challenge. Not in a bad way, but more of like, hey man, I have an opportunity to potentially be a head coach. This has been my dream. This is something I want to pursue, that I want to do.
Yeah.
That is not the money I would have put on. That's not what I would have bet on, that, there's going to be a new DC and not a new OC. But that looks like it's how it's shaping up for NC State right now. You do get CJ back. KC heads off to the portal. And Anai comes back, and then Gibson ends up taking one of these other jobs.
Like I said, pizza like 11 o'clock at night after already having pie and Thanksgiving meals and everything else, going and having way too much food throughout the week, the leftovers, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you can have the roughage, but you also need to sweat that stuff out. This is where you go to O2 Fitness. O2 Fitness does a lot of incredible things with the Renew Physiotherapy, working on Giglio's neck. Loop Nutrition, that helps you get you on the right path to eating right.
Making good choices.
And making good choices, but also not sacrificing really good meals too, right? Getting away from the junk. But at the end of the day, you got to sweat.
O2 Fitness, so much more than a gym.
Or what you do is you help create a child that apparently is a budding gym bro. in the case of my 13-year-old, who's fiending to get to the gym. Dad, can we get to the gym? He wanted to go to the gym on Sunday. I'm like, nah, dude. We got to get a tree. I got to put lights up. He's like, yeah, man, but I got to get my gain. I'm like, nah, you can wait. But we will go there this week. So check out O2fitnessclubs.com. Maybe you made the mistake of not going to Nature's Relief before you dealt with family over the Thanksgiving break. Don't make that mistake during Christmas and New Year's. Go to naturesreliefhempstore.com, RELEAF hempstore.com. I'm here to tell you that my brother could have used a shipment of Nature's Relief since
gripping it a little too tight.
Because Ernie made the trip down to Orlando.
Oh,
and I essentially was acting as Nature's Relief via the phone. Can you believe? I will not believe what Dad said. I'm like, nah, actually, I can't believe what Dad said. So maybe you don't want to grip it so tight. You know, Ryan Day, maybe you need to go to Nature's Relief. And you know what? Maybe he was on Nature's Relief when he was looking around.
Get 100,000 doses of it for everybody in the stadium for that Michigan game.
naturesreliefhempstore.com. Again, they'll be helping us out with the OG tailgate. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Check them out, bugsbite.com. You're not thinking about mosquitoes right now because it's cold. That's fine. But the inside of your house needs that treatment. So contact bugsbite.com. Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority, you can bundle and save.
Congrats to Hayes Lancaster, too, the OG expanding his business empire. He acquired an air and plumbing business recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Recent text. Hey, do you guys have anything in that? Any partnerships with anybody in that field?
We do not.
No, we don't, OG.
Huh.
Interesting.
Okay. Let's talk. Let's do lunch. Maybe you have a house.
Maybe you got air and heating problems.
You got hair and heating. Like, it's so old. Like, oh man, I don't know.
It can't be salvaged.
Cannot be salvaged. It's like the old HGTV show, Homes on Homes. I don't know if you ever watched that show. That show would give me the creeps.
Oh, really?
Because the guy would come in and he's like, yeah, I'm actually surprised that this hasn't crumbled down to its foundation. Like every freaking time, right? So maybe you find yourself in that situation and you need a new home. You need new construction. MyHTR.com can help you out. Hometown Realty. Yeah. I'll admit, I went through an HGTV phase back when I was younger, before kids. Like when there was like nothing on the weekend, you're just having a lazy day. There's no football on.
Yeah, I don't watch TV anymore, so I got problems.
Do you know how many Iron Chef marathons I'd watch on the Food Network back in my early 20s?
Yeah, clearly, because that was one of the first segments we did on radio.
Come on, man. It was the pandemic.
Yeah.
We were just trying to kill time, dude. That's what it was all about.
Isn't that what we're doing anyway?
Yeah.
Do we need a pandemic for that, or
no?
Did I miss the assignment?
No, we're just trying to make the podcast happen, folks. Anyway, go to myhtr.com. We've spent a damn near hour of this podcast, and we haven't even brought up the Carolina Panthers yet. There's plenty of time for the Panthers. Panthers lost. I'm going to hit you with two, not one, but two tell me something good as it relates to the Carolina Panthers.
Tell me something good.
Number one, it could always be worse. And sure enough, over the Thanksgiving break, the Chicago Bears showed you that they are a dysfunctional organization. And you can fleece the Carolina Panthers, another organization that hasn't been all that well run under David Tepper. You can fleece them. You cannot take that away from the Chicago Bears. But this is where I will take a victory lap as it relates to the Chicago Bears. Cool. You took DJ Moore. Cool. You got those draft picks. Awesome. You ended up with Caleb Williams. But I'm sorry, are you still the Chicago Bears run by incompetent people and you decided that Matt Eberflus was the guy that was going to bring this whole thing home? That's what you thought. Yeah, it didn't work out that way. And when I say a dysfunctional organization, it goes beyond just coaching, because you cannot let that man, after Thursday's debacle, do a press conference on Friday, and then when he's done, after he says, yeah, no, I'm coaching next weekend, then go, actually, you're not. That is a sign of a dysfunctional organization. So the Carolina Panthers, congratulations. You're not as bad as the Chicago Bears. They might have fleeced you, but you're at least not a clown show like they were this past weekend. Which gets us to Tell Me Something Good part 2.
Tell me something good.
If last week Joe equated the Panthers to their bourbon phase, where, hey, I recognize this. I don't know the depths of how good this one is versus the other one, but I can recognize, hey, I know what you are. You look like a normal ass football team. You just got Mahomes.
Sure.
Here is the line.
Yeah. Starts over there.
And it goes around the block of all the other teams that have been Mahomes. Oh, you left 90 seconds on the clock with that guy on the other side? Yeah, man, we knew it was a wrap. That's why he's the GOAT. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. So, cool. This week, if last week was the Carolina Panthers graduating to, normal team, whatever. The Panthers have graduated to yet another milestone in just regular ass football teams. You lost a game you should have won against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Ooh, hit the button again.
Tell me something good.
Galaxy
Brain. Let's go.
Okay. Tucker having his kicking issues with Baltimore. He's got
Justin
the yips.
Tucker, right.
Has no longer the quote unquote most accurate kicker in NFL history.
Which is the dumbest stat because math, folks.
He's had four times as many attempts. Yes.
Right.
But I'm telling you this because it has now bled into the broadcast, and it has bled into the broadcast the last 2 weeks, which my guess without seeing them is it's probably in the Panthers game notes. And it's probably like Eddie Money is probably the name of it or some bullshit like that. Like, look how clever I am.
Take me home tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I guarantee you there's somewhere in the notes that says Eddie Pinheiro is now the most accurate kicker in the history of the NFL, which he can no longer avoid because it's like, oh my God. So now he's going up trying to take like these 30-yard kicks. And it's like in the back of his head, he's probably thinking, shit, man, if I miss this, I'm not going to be the most accurate kicker in the history of the NFL anymore. Yeah. Well, now by missing 2 field goals, he's no longer the most accurate kicker in the history of the NFL. So you don't have to put it in the notes.
Hey.
There's no more pressure. He doesn't have to think about it in the back of his head. He could just go be back to being Eddie Pinheiro, jabroni kicker. That's been bothering me the last 2 weeks. It really does.
Look, man, when I saw those graphics making the rounds, I was just like, what are we doing here, man? What are we doing here?
And then he missed.
You think the liner notes had something like, baby, hold on, Eddie Pinheiro is going to make this kick? You think that was the case? Because you know the headlines for that stuff.
Hit the button again, too. I got another one for you.
Wait a minute. These were supposed to be 2 tell me something good.
No, I got more.
2 tickets to paradise, Joe. We just have 2. Okay, just 2.
Last one.
Tell me something good.
Not only does Bryce Young now just look like another normal ass NFL quarterback, meaning you won't have to convince yourself that you'll have to draft a quarterback next year.
Yeah.
In addition to losing now, you moved up to number 5 in the NFL draft. And as we all know, unlike the previous 2 years, you still have your first round pick. So,
hey,
all good things on this Positivity Monday for your Carolina Panthers.
Look, I listened to Dimitri's one-man post-game show, which you can check out on our various social channels. I was listening to Julian Council on Locked On my way in, and I think we were overthinking what happened on Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, Dimitri wants to put it on Dave Canales, coaching malpractice, should have gone for it, blah, 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 blah. Julian Council also 4th and 1. I mean, I don't disagree necessarily with the attitude. It's 4th and 1. You got Chuba Hubbard, like go get it. And Dave Canales' whole argument is, no, we're going to take the points here. And this is why I'm not going to bang on Canales too much in those decisions. They have Eddie Pinheiro. Okay. Take me home tonight, Eddie. Be my little baby. He wasn't. Maybe he's got the yips now, right? So when you got a guy who's fairly automatic in these situations, you're going to go to him and you expect him to make those kicks. He didn't make them.
I think I need a password to get the NFL game notes.
Shit happens. Yeah, I think you do. Shit happens in that situation, right? And that will also happen with Chuba Hubbard. Speaking of Chuba Hubbard, yeah, you expect him to get a 4th and 1. You also expect him not to have the ball stripped. Yeah. No. That was just like that. Look, what are you going to do in that situation, right? And obviously there was the Adam Thielen touchdown that wasn't. And I thought it was hilarious, by the way. You'd appreciate this. I don't know how much of the broadcast you watch, but I thought you would appreciate this. We sit here and we bang on the ACC network and bad camera angles. And had they just had, the NFL has all the money in the world, and Mike Pereira is on TV talking about how they don't have an angle for that, right? So all these things just kind of compile themselves, and you end up having the result where they should have won the game, but they didn't. It happens. Again, maybe I'm spinning this a little too positive for the Carolina Panthers, but when you were at rock bottom earlier in the year, to look normal is progress. To have Bryce Young have a good game. Like, look, shout out to the OG sports phone, but I got some text message, and I love people who text this. I got a 919, all caps. Bryce Young. Are we watching soccer? I only associate that with soccer, with one name, right? From a 336. Bryce MF Young. Whoever doubted this guy? I got the joke there. That was amusing. That was amusing. So the point is, and I saw a couple of these in social media as well. I get that it was low for Bryce Young after one full season in the first 2 games of this year and how bad everything looked. And you give him a lot of credit for getting up off the mat and looking competent. And I think the best thing you can say about this is that it does force the Panthers' hand in bringing him back next year and not chasing a QB in this upcoming draft. I think that's the biggest takeaway of where we are right now with the Carolina Panthers over the last couple of weeks and the play from Bryce Young. But here's what we're not going to do, okay? I missed this, but you caught it.
Oh, yeah. During the broadcast.
Were they spinning the benching?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
that it was intentional for Bryce Young's benefit.
No.
That's why it was done.
No.
And how much he learned from it.
No, we're not.
And it was done as a part of his growth and as a part of his development.
We're not doing
that. It was
that.
a specific decision made
to
make sure that he developed.
No, we're not doing that.
That was not communicated to anyone on the planet.
No.
If that's how they're trying. And again, you know my thoughts on this. TV people don't know shit. What they know is what they're told during the week.
That's fine.
So they're not out here following the Panthers and being insiders. I'm not denigrating
why
them.
would Mark Schlereth be knee deep in Panthers stuff?
You have a meeting with the coach before the game and the quarterback coach and the quarterback himself.
Yes.
So yeah, when they started with that, I was like, oh, are they really going to do this? Are they really doing this?
No, man.
Come on.
Don't do this, guys. Just don't do this. Anyway, so all that is to say with the Carolina Panthers, it sucks that they lost. It does. I mean, it's funny that we're sitting here talking about how had they beaten the Buccaneers, they might have actually still given themselves a chance to be in the mix for the NFC South. Obviously, that's out the window. They had zero room for error. And there was some error there. And I know Dave Canales said after the fact, you can control what you can control. I thought I was taken all the way back to the John Fox era with those cliches to control the controllables. But he's right. He's right. I'm not going to bang on Canales here. Make the kick, Eddie. All right, Chuba. The fumble is whatever. It got stripped, man. That's just a heads up play. Okay, so make the kicks. Don't fumble the ball. And we're talking about a Panthers win at home. Okay, so that's 2 weeks now where the Carolina Panthers have graduated to just normal football. You got Mahomes the previous week, and now you lost a football game you should have won. Join the club. There's a shit ton of NFL teams that do exactly that. You talk about Justin Tucker, right? Hey, man, Ravens should have beaten the Eagles.
Yipping it up.
But Justin Tucker's Mr. Automatic, right? Right? Not so much. Not so much on that. And that's where we're at. Lightning Round brought to you by Sam Jones Barbecue. Check them out in downtown Raleigh. Shout out to OG listeners that actually took us up on our suggestion. You got family in town. You're looking to supplement some of the meals that are taking place. We got this from an 828 number on Wednesday of last week. Got that Sam Jones Barbecue Thanksgiving ready. I see the sauce. I see a chocolate chess pie. And I see the turkey. So they took us up on that offer. Hopefully things played out for Sam Jones.
Hit him up for lunch too.
I'm going to do that.
Great lunch.
I might do that this week.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have turkey though. I'm a little turkeyed out.
Oh, understandable. I got plenty of other options.
I'll get something else. All right. To the lightning round where we will start with the Bills in the snow. Looking good. Just absolutely taking them out last night or yesterday. Was it last night? I don't even know what time. It was last night. Game. It was a Sunday night game. I don't even know what time it is or what day it is. Regardless, the thing about the Buffalo Bills, and it's something that you and I always go back and forth with as it relates to the weather, that looks like a team that's finally built for the weather that they're playing in. Run the freaking ball. Josh Allen is a weapon all over the field. You don't necessarily have to have him throw it as much as they used to, right? And yeah, that was a good look for them last night. But the problem with the Buffalo Bills, as always, they can look as good as they want to look as they did last night. But in the back of our minds, there's still the Kansas City thing in the playoffs. And I get that they took out Kansas. I get all that stuff, but they got to do it in the playoffs. But in the meantime, Buffalo Bills are a hell of a lot of fun to watch, man.
Yeah, man, I really hated watching Detroit on Thanksgiving in perfect conditions in the NFL's best offense. What I really needed was to watch the Bills freeze their dicks off against the 49ers. That's real football. That's what I really needed in my life.
I'm sorry, were you not vigorously pleasuring yourself?
I was not.
What is it, Cooper tossing it back to Josh Allen, who gets a touchdown, but not the actual reception because it doesn't count as a reception?
I'm just going to tell you this. Anyway. They're making snow angels. Yeah, Josh Allen is the white Cam Newton. They have fully become the 2015 Panthers. They're having all kinds of fun right now. And they even have the 2015 Panthers kryptonite on their team. Von Miller.
That's right.
So I'll see you in the Super Bowl, Bills. If you're a Bills fan right now, Bills Mafia, I know you're into this shit. My Venmo is at Giglio Joe. You should all be sending me $1 not to take the Bills to make the Super Bowl. I am so heavily invested in the Chiefs. I have hate hedged against the Chiefs. You do not want me taking a single Bills ticket. At Giglio Joe is the Venmo.
You are a true sicko, man. True sicko. So is Russell Wilson, who can't believe I'm saying this, but he's in the best shape of his life, Joe.
He looks good.
He looks good. Here's what I'll say about the Pittsburgh Steelers and Russell Wilson and Mike Tomlin. Because a lot of people, I think, have to go back to their initial reaction to Justin Fields taking a backseat to Russell Wilson when he was healthy. I think it ultimately comes down to a lot of people, and I understand why, just don't like Russell Wilson.
Sure.
They don't like his vibe. I get it. I'm not going to argue with you on that sort of thing. I also understand his vibe's a little off, right? However, I was convinced that Russell Wilson still had a little something left in the tank because he takes incredible care of himself and he has that mindset.
Sure.
That's never going to accept defeat. Now, that can go in all sorts of directions. But with Russell, there's a reason why we called the podcast what we called it, Joe. It was your idea. Why did we call the podcast why we called the podcast?
Well, that's what Tom O'Brien said about him.
Right.
Yeah.
Never lost.
Never failed.
He's never failed. Okay. Well, it's a really hard time for Russell Wilson to fail unless he is put together with a coach who absolutely does not want him. And when he was in Denver, and again, another poorly run organization before Sean Payton took over, and then Sean Payton clearly did not like his vibe and wanted him the hell out of there. And I think Sean Payton has paid off.
Acquitting himself.
With how things have been going on with Bo Nix. And that's why sometimes things just don't match up right.
Yeah.
So let's put Russ with the ultimate players coach in Mike Tomlin, right? Nothing but good vibes.
Said this the day that Sean Payton told him to pound salt.
Steelers.
Yeah.
It's paying off.
Yep.
Now, I don't know how far the Steelers can take this, but so far, Mike Tomlin has owed an apology. Russell Wilson has owed an apology for the reaction early in the season for him to go back out there as though Justin Fields was the answer.
I do kind of wish that one of these other teams was in the NFC. I just feel like it would be a whole lot more fun to see somebody on the NFC side challenge Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a bunch of teams on the AFC side who are froggy.
Over to the Eagles.
8 in a row. Jeez.
So, I mean, we mentioned Justin Tucker and all that stuff. The reason why I bring this up is Nick Sirianni in the clear? Or are we in another one of these situations like we talked about with Ryan Day earlier?
I was going to say, is Ryan Day in the clear? Like, you don't know until we get to the end.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, this guy was as good as fired at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
8 in a row.
Should have been. Yeah.
It helps that they're healthy, obviously. It helps that Justin Tucker can't make kicks. Like, I get all that stuff. And I'm wondering, like, whoa, is this the redemption story that we were not prepared for? I don't think Nick Sirianni is a redemption story. I think it depends on what happens in the postseason.
Either way, they owe the New York Giants a serious debt.
Now, speaking of odds, let's get to the real odds with our friends over at DraftKings. Check them out at DraftKings, the app, the DraftKings Sportsbook app. I tried to have some fun with the DraftKings Sportsbook app over the weekend, just having some silly $1 bets on some incredible parlays. I got $12.47 in the account right now.
Nice.
So I made a little bit of money back, right? But they got all sorts of single game parlay boosts, no sweat bets, which I'm always a big fan of. Goal score odds surge in the NHL. All sorts of stuff that you can do on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. It's a heck of a lot of fun. And with the NBA Cup going on right now, you can win big getting in on the action on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All 30 teams split into 6 groups every Tuesday and Friday. So you can go check that out. And if it's your first time, here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers, bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Again, score big with the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use that promo code OG24. Again, that's OG24. New customers will get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. All part of that $5 gang, folks. Only on DraftKings. I haven't checked the Canes odds, by the way. I'm sure they've changed.
To win the Stanley Cup?
I'm sure they've changed a little bit.
I just had the NFL ones up. The Bills are not the favorites. I thought they would be. They're not. The Detroit Lions are now the Super Bowl favorites, followed by the Eagles, and then the Chiefs and Bills are both at plus 500. So again, though, Bills fans, the offer stands. You do not. I have 7 tickets that include the Kansas City Chiefs winning and getting to the Super Bowl. So again, if you know anything, I am the king of runner-ups. So if you don't want me touching your team and jinxing your team that has the propensity to be jinxed, I would suggest you send me some money on the Venmos. Oh, the Carolina Hurricanes have moved up significantly.
Oh, okay.
They are now tied for being the favorites to win the Stanley Cup. We have the Panthers, Oilers, and Canes 8-1 plus 800.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
Big thanks to our friends at Breeze Through. Check them out, breezethrough.com. Drove by the Pool Road location recently. We were just there for an OG Live as they reopened that. I hope that Adam over at Breeze Through has something. Like if I needed something for my throat right now, I'm sure they got lozenges.
Oh, yeah.
They got everything in there.
Tea, coffee, drinks. Yeah, you name it.
It is a hydration station right down to the beer cave.
All the good things. Everything that you need.
Yeah, well, right now I need a lozenge.
Plus you can get gas.
It's that time of the year where this stuff hits me, man. It hits me bad. So let's keep on moving here. You know what I need? 2 roosters. Thank you, sir. Does Jared have something to help me out when it comes to the lovely time of the year where the allergies kick in so badly and it's so dry outside that I'm on the struggle bus to close things out?
I don't know, but you know it is December, right? We got new flavors.
Yes.
Christmas cookie.
Oh, that's right. It's time. It's time for the Christmas cookie, isn't it? Let's go. Look, people are like, oh, it's really, really cold out. It doesn't matter. When the ice cream hits like that, you are going to deal with the cold and power through to go get that ice cream.
The fudge brownie pie, the peanut butter fudge brownie pie changed my life. I don't know how he does it. Pie. Chocolate chess pie was also delicious, but now we are on to the Christmas season, and yeah, it's Christmas cookie time.
Let's freaking go. And of course, you can get it at the arena as well. Like not the Christmas cookie, but the other main things like the Slave and Sunday, which is fantastic and worth powering through. Like me, powering through right now. Butcher's Market, check them out, thebutchersmarkets.com. you can get your next holiday event catered. We are in peak party mode right now, so contact our friends.
I was say, listen, if you're someone who's in HR or who makes these choices for your business, go to butchersmarkets.com, contact them for their catering. Joe and I are two people who've been in too many holiday parties where the food is just atrocious.
Yeah.
You're spending money. Okay, let's get into business mode here. It's not quite a meeting, but
wait, are we having a meeting?
No, but
we're having a meeting.
Let's get into business mode. You're spending money because it's the end of the year, and you're like, hey man, how do I help myself with my taxes? Well, you got to spend some money. So you have a holiday party. Well, do yourself a favor and tell your employees that you actually care about them. Get your holiday party catered by the Butcher's Market.
Big thanks to our friends at Roback.com as well. Speaking of people that you want to show you care about them, go get them a wonderful Roback.com using the OG promo code OG20. Save some money on those goodies.
Cyber sales continue through today. So you can still get those 20% off without our code. You can save that for when the state and Carolina merch comes out in the fall. I have advanced the theory that I would love to see either Carolina or state play against ECU in the Military Bowl in Annapolis. Ben is fully on board with that as well. So let's help out all those involved this year. Get that Roback swag.
Roback incredibly comfortable while I was putting lights on the house. Had the hoodie on, kept me nice and warm while I was on the roof. I had to break out the headlamp yesterday.
Now you're getting serious.
I ran out of light, and damn it, I was going to complete the trim on the house.
Serious.
It was very serious, ladies and gentlemen. So you can go check that out. Roback.com. Do you want to take your Texas A&M victory lap now, or do you want to do it when we talk to Bomani tomorrow?
No, we'll wait till we can properly get into that because it's just glorious.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's go to the OG Sports Phone. Shocker. We have a lot of residual comments from what happened over the weekend. Who knew that would be the case?
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
All right. Let's go to a 704 number, shall we?
Hey, guys. I just got to point out that Georgia Tech ran the exact same 2-point conversion in overtime that I called at the end of that game. I mean, to the T, breaking it out, same direction, strong side, weak side, and Bailey threw it to the exact same spot that Ace King threw. It was the exact, it ended up the same. We're about took the same trajectory out of bounds. I do need to comment, though, just to keep everybody honest, that, I mean, Joe, you don't like the flag planting. That's your opinion. That's great. You are the same guy I saw in Phoenix carrying around a sign that said, "Where's Duke? Where's UNC?" God bless.
Yeah, and to back up the call from the 704 number, I would add that you are also the same person who loves the Jeff Bizdelic. You show respect by showing no respect.
It's true. It's very true.
So can you reconcile that for me?
I wasn't on anybody's space with my signs. I was in my own space.
But I mean, like, can we stop with this whole thing? Like, the logo is some sort of like.
It's not about the logo. It's just listen, it's about celebrating. I was celebrating with NC State fans. That's who I was celebrating with. That's who I was enjoying the moment with. I wasn't taunting anyone. I wasn't doing any of that. So
fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Like, come on, man. Listen to the pod. I said NC State, Brent Key, they have the exact same playbook. I wasn't kidding. I said this in real time.
I know.
The mistake there, if you really want to get into it, the mistake there was that Carolina didn't have the count on your left. You're supposed to look to your left. And if you have more people on offense than they have on that left side lined up, you throw the ball to the left. They did this against ECU a couple of years ago in 16. You're supposed to throw it when you have the count in your favor. They didn't do it. So,
all right, this is from a 980 number.
Morning, fellas. It's a beautiful Sunday. This is Jarvis calling back from Mooresville. Just want to say that, let's start the day off with it's been 1,149 days since, we got beat by.
Oh, you got cut off. That's too bad. Let's go to an 828 number.
Hey, guys. I'm James in Dayton, North Carolina. Watching the news here Sunday morning, watching sports on WBTV. Well, they're showing highlights in-game highlights of the Carolina State game. They're showing a little bit of Charlotte highlights. Hell, they showed Lenore Ryan highlights. They showed Clemson, South Carolina highlights. Did they show one fucking highlight from the Duke game? No. They flashed the score on the TV, but I must be fucking deaf because I didn't even hear them mention it. I understand. I'm 52. I've lived in this state my whole life. And I know the media is biased towards Carolina and, of course, state and all this other bullshit. But fucking get real. Manny Diaz is 9-3. They were picked to win 4 games. He should be coach of the year at ACC. But no, all you want to do is continue to suck hind tits and talk about sorry-ass fucking piece of shit Mack Brown in the NC State fucking Wolfpack. Fuck you, WBTV. Fuck the local media. Give Duke the fucking respect they deserve.
Wow.
Call the OG sports phone and curse or don't.
Wow. Jeez. I don't know anybody at WBT, but goodness gracious, I was not expecting that. All right, I think I got one more here. This is from a 252 number. I think this sets us up perfectly for the rest of the week. Let's go.
Giglio, this is for you. Can we stop with the charade with Kevin Keats? He went on a heater last year, and we're reverting back to the mean. Ovies was right that this year is going to be a little bit back to normal. We're already down 20 to BYU, and we lost last night. So just admit that this season is, this is what Kevin Keats is. See ya.
We're gonna talk some more hoops tomorrow. We're gonna talk, and I was wondering, it was not a great week for the ACC in hoops last week, by the way.
No, it was not.
I mean, marquee matchups that both Carolina and Duke lost. State, I watched some of that BYU game when I was in Maryland. That was gross.
That was not good.
That was gross. But I will say this, in my defense, when I say regression, it's not going to look like that for obvious reasons. But I think State is going to get back into that mode where they're going to be figuring things out as the season goes on, and we'll see where they're at when they get to January.
It would be awesome if their best player were to actually play for them. I would like to see that.
Yeah, that would be nice. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully my voice will be completely fine tomorrow. We'll see you then.